What's the state of your website? If you're looking for a new digital experience platform or DXP to run your digital experiences, I have the book for you. The Agile Brand Guide to Digital Experience Platforms is part of my best-selling series of MarTech books. In this book, I explore and demystify DXPs and look at the roles a digital experience platform should play, the different types on the market, as well as how to initially evaluate platforms, then how to best implement a DXP once you've selected it. The book also features a foreword from Rupali Jain, Chief Product Officer at leading DXP provider Optimizely, as well as several other thought leaders in the industry. Learn more and get a copy in print or digital now by going to the Agile Brand Guide website at www.agilebrandguide.com. Hi, this is Greg Kilstrom. Welcome to the Agile World podcast, where we discuss customer experience, employee experience, and transformation in an agile age. The Agile World podcast is brought to you by Tech Systems, an industry leader in full-stack technology services, talent services, and real-world application. For more information, go to techsystems.com. To read more about the topics discussed on this show, you can go to my website at theagile.world and read my latest articles or get a copy of my latest book, The Center of Experience, a blueprint for creating an experience-led organization, now available on Amazon and other retailers. My name is Greg Kilstrom, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of CareerGig and the host of the Agile World podcast. Today we're going to talk about how to maintain agility as a marketing agency. I know firsthand how volatile the world of marketing and public relations can be. When you take the last 12 years alone, we've seen the 2008-9 financial crisis, the rebuilding of the economy alongside the growth of social media and digital advertising as more sophisticated channels, the evolution of big data into something that businesses of all sizes can leverage for marketing and business insights, and now the most recent financial crisis due to COVID-19. Amidst that, marketing and sales can't simply stop, so the role of the agency has always been vital. But its role has certainly evolved over time and will continue to evolve. To help me discuss this topic, I'd like to welcome Tim Weinheimer, who I first met when he and I were on the board of the American Advertising Federation DC chapter together. First, why don't you tell me a little bit about your background and what you do at Hahn Public?
Hey, Greg, you bet. It's terrific to be on the Agile World with you today. I've been an agency executive for the past 25 years. And for the past 12 years, I've focused on agencies' digital transformation. My role currently at Hahn Public is I'm the president and managing partner of our innovations team, which includes our strategy group, all the good front-end, back-end developer teams, and data science and analytics experts. So again, excited to be here today.
Great. Well, yeah, welcome and looking forward to talking. So let's talk about the current agency landscape and how we got here. Before COVID-19 began to affect businesses, where was the marketing and PR agency landscape headed, and what's shaped the last 3 to 4 years in the industry?
I think there's a couple of things that have happened. I feel like agencies have really started to hit their stride with using, marketing technologies to their advantage. We joke a lot that there's people that are sort of Jedis, on how to use these platforms. So whether that's using them for social listening, to promote, protect their brand, or if they're actually getting into really driving, programmatic and episodic content experiences for their clients. It seems to me that, one of the things we're seeing is that the true specialists or experts in their craft when it comes to digital marketing, they've really figured out how to deliver personalization. It seems like there's been a lot of lip service to personalization, but I feel like things have really, really turned a corner, even in just the past few months, where people may have talked about, really using the tools, but it seems like everybody's up their game and said, hey, we've got to understand these platforms. The mobile web has moved forward 3 years, so we have no choice but to, use them to our advantage.
Yeah. So what did the pandemic do to that existing trajectory, and what effect has it had on you and your agency and your work?
For us, we were in a very unique place. We have an exceptional crisis communications team. So as COVID hit and furloughs were happening and staff reductions or safety and precautionary measures were put in place, we were really well positioned as an agency with a lot of the expertise that we had on our team. I would say the other thing that sort of happened is brands that may have been otherwise quiet or maybe pulled back during this time. We've seen clients move into more of a brand protection mode, so that
Mm.
they're actually, they're taking again the steps that they probably wouldn't have taken otherwise if it was just for the sake of promotion or public education, but rather taking the steps that they need to do to protect their brand for the future.
Yeah. What lasting changes do you think are gonna? I mean, eventually, hopefully sooner than later, but eventually, at least most of this will subside. What lasting changes do you think this is going to have on the agency world?
You know, probably one of the biggest changes will be the adjustment to a virtual, creative, collaborative environment. You know, the delay in people actually going back or walking back into an office, that seems like that is here to stay for a while. While some people might be comfortable with it, some might not. Um, and why I bring up that point is because, as you know, Greg, a lot of our career is based on people sitting in a room, brainstorming, concepting, coming up with different ideas, and it's the body language that you're seeing and experiencing with your peers, and kind of knowing, did we get to, a really great creative idea, or did we stumble on something that we wouldn't have seen otherwise, by being, in a room together, working together. So I think virtual is a big thing. I think the other thing that we're going to see is just an enormous amount of tech changes. We're already seeing with clients a shift to serverless platforms, for web development. Moving away from sort of hosting or your type of WordPress always on environments. I think
Yeah.
another thing that we're going to see is just more of a shift to self-serve platforms versus, say, your managed services offerings that are a little bit more costly that you might be getting from a software as a service company. So
Yeah.
just a lot of changes in how tech is deployed within agencies.
Yeah, I mean, to go back to the virtual and remote thing, do you have an example maybe of like how have you been able to maintain, because create what you're talking about is strategy and creativity in a lot of those instances. Do you have an example or maybe some insights for, since we're still going through this right now even, um how have you been able to maintain some of that creativity and just that strategic focus despite different work situations?
Yeah, that's a great question. Several things we've done. We've actually upped our own personalization, so things like our all hands meetings. We're trying to do just fun stuff that you can do virtually on, things that we're doing like a hashtag theme on a Thursday, always keeping the creative vibe front and center so that people don't feel like it's just a grind of them individually sitting at their computer, staring at a screen, feeling that they're sort of out there just trying to, service a
Yeah.
client or write something on their own. So we've really done a lot more in that area. We've also, I feel like we've gotten closer with our clients through this process. And what I mean by that is when we are working on a campaign and we're trying to write the strategy, um, we'll actually take the time. If that's a 2 hour call or maybe even a 3 hour call, we will actually ask them to make the time to think through and really uncover the insight before we proceed. And just sort of accepting something that might be a lesser idea, but really dig in with them, just knowing that we don't have that face to face time together.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting how you can focus on some slightly different things, or there's a lot of that's great. Well, I mean, in it along those lines, I guess I've had several conversations with people about obviously there's a lot of unfortunate things happening, and whether that's personally or business wise for a lot of people out there. But are there any positive takeaways? Because we all need them, right? Like,
Right.
are there any yeah are there any like positive takeaways or things that you mentioned? Kind of inferred this, like having a little more time for reflection and adjustment, and just kind of thinking through the status quo. Anything you could share along those lines as well?
Yeah, I think the positive piece of this, and one of the universe I sit in um, is the commitment to analytics. That might sound weird, but I feel like the a true report card of knowing how things have shifted or changed, how behaviors have changed, um, what clients are ready to do with their data, with finding data. So all of the things we were sort of, you know, peeking out into the future and saying, gosh, we wish our clients would do more with data or analytics or commit to their Google Analytics. I feel like that has exponentially improved for the better. And there's a lot more truth that we can get as communicators from that data and those insights than we were able to do before. And honestly, in the last 6 months, I can't think of one client that hasn't stepped up their analytics and measurement reporting.
That's really interesting. There's probably a bunch of follow ups on there. I need to think through that a little bit more. Yeah, I wonder if I mean the agency business, and having run one for a number of years as well. There is a big relationship aspect to it.
Yeah.
Obviously, companies hire agencies because they do great work and get great results. Beyond a shadow of a doubt. But at the same time, it is also you hire people that you like to work with, and I would say sometimes I've tried to win business away from agencies where they just had a really good relationship with the customer, and as good as I thought my team was, we just weren't going to win that away. And I wonder if what you're touching on is, I mean, in a way, it's kind of a reckoning of big data. I mean, everyone has been talking about data for years and years, to your point, but to actually have the chance of all things being equal, are we actually getting these results? Like, we can't go to lunch, we can't have drinks and do all that stuff that we used to. Like, just looking at black and white at numbers, are we getting results? And unfortunately, it sounds like in your case, you're winning that as well. But I wonder if others aren't losing some more business for that very reason.
I think it could be. I'll give you a really good example of this. Is one of our clients is a big energy client, and while we've had a really good handle on all of their .com and their web data and all of the external metrics, um, as COVID hit, they put a lot of online programs in place for employees and through their mobile app for employees and the ways that the C-level team would communicate, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Um, they had such an appetite to make sure, and I do mean that, like up to the CEO, to know that their employees were okay, that they were receiving the messages coming from the C-suite, that they knew that they cared and that they were watching videos, that they were sharing social content. They really wanted to know that everything they were doing was making it out to the thousands of employees in this company. So
Yeah.
again, we would have never probably had that metrics conversation with them prior to COVID.
Yeah, yeah, that's really interesting. Well, yeah, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about agility in general as it pertains to agencies. So you've worked for several agencies over your career, from Ogilvy to McCann to Ketchum and others. What traits were present when those agencies were successful, and what can be applied to your work today or to those listening?
I think for me, I was so fortunate to learn from the best in the business. So I would say three words come to mind, and that's subject matter experts. I felt like I've been one of the luckiest people to actually learn from so many experts over the years. Stan Richards with the Richards Group. Years ago, Nancy Kroom, who was one of the leading strategists at DDB. Nick Ragone, who was my boss at Ketchum. Just people that really, really dug deep, and you knew that they were very passionate about their work, but they also had a very clear philosophy, personal philosophy, in how they got their work done. And that's how clients, I think, connected with them and trusted them. So, seeing them in action, again, I couldn't have been luckier to kind of follow in their footsteps and learn from them.
That's great. How do you maintain that, and how do you maintain agility in your business and at Han Public where you are now?
So my managing partner and I, Jeff Hahn, we are constantly encouraging change, now more than ever. So if it's not working, on Monday, by Friday, go ahead and try something else. So if
Yeah.
that's how you're engaged with your client, how we're doing lead generation. One of the things we just even a few months ago, we thought, gosh, we've tried a couple different things on lead gen, and we stumbled on this new partner. And ironically, they're out of Melbourne, Australia, um, to help us with new business. And they have such an impressive program and an email system, and it was really everything we needed. So um, again, I think for agility, we're always saying it is okay to take a few risks, take more risk than probably what we used to encourage people, but to stick your neck out and go, you know, look at a new software. We don't have to use the same tools that we've used for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Do we need to reevaluate how we're even staffing? Are you in the right role anymore because things have changed? And is your passion, maybe more so in the social listening space, and you wanted to be doing that? So let's move you to that and test the waters there. So we're operating with a lot greater flexibility than we did before.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear. And I think, with any agile process, whether it's formal agile, whether you have a scrum master or it's more a broader application of agile. I mean, I think that's it's so important, and to be able to experiment, and also to go back to the analytics piece, to have the measurements in place to know that, okay, we're going to try this, and here's the measure of success or failure, and if it doesn't work as well as we want, then we move on. And I think that's what, that to me, that's what agile really is that measured and almost scientific approach to making sure that, again, we can try things, we can experiment, but there's a point in time that we either need to be on the right track or make a change. So that's good to hear that you're
Yeah.
um,
And I think too, the other thing, once we saw the writing on the wall with COVID, while we weren't going to have our more formal trainings, we shifted everybody to a lot of online trainings. And as you've probably noticed, there was just some of the best in class online training courses out there. Deeply discounted some of their coursework. So we've had, I'll say, 10 folks just in our development team who've completed their nano degrees in AI, machine learning, data for business, serverless technologies, how to sell that to your clients. So I have loved that. They have just stepped in. They said, you know what, I'm just going to take this class. It's $300. This one's $500. So we really encourage people to go sign up for those.
That's great. That's great. So what would you say along those lines? What would you say agencies in general should do to maintain agility moving forward?
I think there's two things. I think two things that come to mind is one is truly getting into predictive. And I think the second thing is employee retention. I'll probably start with that one.
Yeah,
I feel like, I've always been a big fan of mentoring people, whether they like it or not, but really wanted to know, that they should be enjoying their work. They have 100% permission to do great work. In our case, we're privately held, so we're not reporting to, shareholders or, you know,
yeah,
nobody's got a financial gun to our head, if you will. So making sure that they really, really are having fun, enjoying their work, and that they have a path. Um, that was something I always, I saw agencies really fail at delivering a path for people and letting people know that we're not hard and fast about rules in that area. I think on the latter point on predictive, for me, it's really getting to there's kind of no excuse anymore to not be able to look 5 years out. So I don't care if you're in the energy category, the food category, beverage category, somewhere either first party data, um, second party data. We're doing a big arrangement with data.world with a couple of clients. They have over 400,000 data sets you can access through their community.
well,
So really encouraging our team and our clients to, tinker with the data, round up the data, start to spin up things using machine learning, and getting out there into the future and making some really confidential predictions and trends about where certain category or product development areas are going to go. So that's a very exciting area for us.
yeah, that sounds great. Definitely on target there. That's great. Well, one last question before we wrap up. I've noticed a shift to moving more resources in house, creating in house agencies and the like. Do you see that trend continuing? Do you see it being disrupted by COVID-19? And either way, what do you recommend to agencies to do in order to remain relevant?
Yeah, that's a great question. We were joking about it on our management call this week that we've kind of figured we need to move to sort of a Hollywood model. So, when we need people, when we need resources, there's just this enormous pool of talent that's available now. There's all of the unfortunate layoffs that we've
Yeah.
certainly seen with a lot of our peers in the agency world. So, really embracing that and knowing that there are some exceptional designers and strategists and developers and all of these sort of on-demand resources that we can tap into. I think to your question of in-house versus sending things to the agency, it feels like to me right now the line's a little bit blurred just because everybody is virtual. So, even on some of our larger clients, when we're on a call with 25 people, I have to kind of remember which people on the call are, which are our
Right,
people and which are the client.
right.
Um, because
Yeah,
their kitchen, what their kitchen and their bedrooms and their offices, what they look like. But so there's a
yeah.
little bit of a blurring happening, which is kind of nice. You're really you're playing to who you have the relationship with. You're knowing these people for their skills at a virtual level, um, and sort of so it's a little blurred, I think.
Mm,
I don't see corporations moving people back in house. I do see more work going to agencies. I think just because of the economics of corporations maybe not being able to make the full time employee investments. but rather get exactly the right sized, right talent from an agency that they may only need for a project basis for 6 months, 9 months. So we're good with that too.
Yeah, that flexibility definitely seems. I mean, that's what I'm seeing as well. Is the need for flexibility actually makes the agency more, and consultants in general, but makes agencies more, I think, more relevant than ever, which is good news for for everyone
Yeah,
in the agency world.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, Tim, thanks so much for joining the show. For those listening, what's the best way for them to keep up with what you're doing?
Yeah, I would say easiest thing is always reach out to me at Twitter. It's at T Weinheimer, Weinheimer.
Great, great. Well, again, I'd like to thank Tim Weinheimer, Principal President and Managing Partner of Hahn Public, for joining the show. To learn more about both customer and employee experience, I recommend you go to my website at gregkillstrom.com and make sure to check out my latest book, The Center of Experience. More information is available on my website or wherever the book is available, like Amazon. Thanks again for listening to The Agile World with Greg Killstrom. See you next week. Thanks again for listening to the Agile World podcast, brought to you by Tech Systems. I'm your host, Greg Killstrom. You can learn more and get a copy of my latest book, The Center of Experience, from my website at theagile.world or on Amazon or other retailers. Until next week, stay agile.